Hey everyone, Rascal here.
And Mama. Welcome to our podcast.
Today we're covering the live-action remake of the Disney classic 2019's The Lion King.
Yes, and this is done especially for Isaiah Garza.
Yes!
Happy birthday! Woo! We know it's one of his favorite movies, so
yes,
this is for you.
Yes.
Now, in this rendition of the story, the young lion cub Simba is born to be the king of Pride Rock, and he's brought to life with stunning scenery, an all-new voice cast, and the return of fan-favorite songs with new takes on them.
Yes. And before we get into it, be sure to like, subscribe, and click the notification bell to get updates on future podcasts and roll to pause videos.
Yes.
Now we have heard a lot of people sort of had this mixed thing for the remake. Some were opposed to it because the scenery looks fantastic, the animals look fantastic, but they felt like it was going to be more of the same Disney thing where they tone down the stuff you like about the animated thing and just make, just have you come back because it's Lion King. And another group said, hey, this is actually pretty good. They made it epic. They made it close to the story and they made it fantastical and stuff. So we saw it and it's a little bit of a mixture of both. We want you to come up with your own conclusion to the movie when you watch it. But for someone who has seen the original film, I know Mama has.
Yes.
And I saw
Lion King 1.5,
Lion King 2,
yes.
yeah. And I saw the animated one first too. And when I saw live action one, the one thing that is pretty much accurate when they talk about the film is that it sticks to the story. It didn't do like Aladdin where they were, you knew the story but they added some twists on them, so you knew there's still a surprise of what's happening to the plot. Now I can't say for this version of Lion King that didn't happen. What happened in the original happens in the remake. They really didn't change. Like 99% of the film remains the same.
Yes. And it was absolutely beautiful. The way it was shot was the lush and beautiful, and the colors were vibrant, and it was so beautiful to look at. I was really mesmerized by just the visuals of it. First, in seeing the commercials.
Right.
And then we started watching. Of course, I just kept going, oh, it's so beautiful.
Yes, and I think they filmed on location, I believe, which is great because that means it got the environment accurate too. Instead of just having to draw, you got to see it, let's say, live and in person. So that was great.
And they had a stellar voice cast.
Yes.
Starting with Scar for some reason.
Right.
The excellent Chiwetel Ejiofor.
Right.
James Earl Jones as Mufasa.
He's returning.
Yes.
John Connie as Rafiki.
Well, he took Robert Guillaume's place, who passed away some time ago.
Right.
John Connie.
Right. We have
Alfred
Woodard as Sarabi. J.D. McCrae as the Simba as a cub.
Yeah, young Simba. We also had Keegan-Michael Key and
Eric.
Seth Rogen. Two comedians did some great roles. Amy Sedaris as a guinea fowl.
And Chance the Rapper apparently had a little bit of a role in here. I think that's hilarious. And Donald Glover as Simba.
As an adult. Yeah.
And then Beyonce as the adult Nala.
And even Phil Lamar made an appearance as Impala. And Young Nala was done by Shadi Wright Joseph.
Right.
So, great stellar cast. They did an excellent job in interpreting the characters and making the characters their own.
And like I said, there are some slight changes. I mean slight. It's nothing really that affects the story where some other new plot happens with it. Like I said, Aladdin had this sort of extra plot with the genie since they made him go human in that version. So they had an extra story. They had other plot elements in there. For Lion King, there was no subplot. The only one you really got, which was in the first one, was Scar taking over Pride Rock, which they kept. And when they had the songs in here, they were also, I think, shortened. I think so they could just go back to the story. They had fewer musical numbers in here. They still had the beginning one, Circle of Life. They kept Can't Wait to Be King. They kept Hakuna Matata. They even had like shout outs. They had shout outs to
have a wonderful
when they had shout outs to when they stopped the song. Like, you're not gonna stop me. He said, why would I? And then Be Prepared, which was altered because people said that originally the song was taken out, and people were furious over that because it's a classic villain song. So they had it in here, but the tone of it is more threatening. As the movie has also changed how the characters act. They didn't want Scar to be the devious villain he was in the original. They want him to be a deadly, menacing threat you didn't like at all. So while you kind of like Scar because sometimes you can relate to him and being annoyed, they didn't want that effect for Scar in the remake, so they made sure there was nothing likable about Scar. Nothing in his design, nothing in his lines. He didn't have any witty lines. It's that he's the villain. That's it. Nothing more, nothing less. Which was a little odd since Scar is one of the beloved classic villains.
Right. And I think also in his interpretation of the character, again, as I said, they each made it their own, and Ejiofor was very excellent at getting that across in the voice of the character, for sure. Absolutely, for sure.
Right.
And it was great hearing James Earl Jones again.
Right. It was like all the time.
As Darth Vader, but as Mufasa.
Yeah.
Yes.
It's like no one else could play Mufasa when you think about it. It's like no other actor comes to mind when you hear him.
And the same for Alfred Woodward playing the mom.
Right.
So it was great hearing both of them return to the roles they helped to make famous.
Right. And they also, for the visuals, like we said, scenery was fantastic. Music was fantastic. Now, the one thing that a lot of people come with, when it comes to about the characters themselves, the voice may be fine, the dialogue is fine, but the one thing people seem to be really divided on is their designs. And they've used photorealistic imagery to create the live action characters because it says live action, but under the category is animated because the only thing live is the scenery. All the animals have been animated. They didn't use real animals to make their mouths move. They just used the image of real animals and animated that, and then that was it.
But I have to say, in this instance, a lot of times you're kind of irritated with Disney doing things like when they put Carrie Fisher's face on someone else's body in one of the Star Wars sequels. We were not happy about that. But in this, in using this technology, the animals look so real and so beautiful. And it looks like they're talking. Yeah. They really have stepped up technique, and they have really created a technology that they probably have patented because it's absolutely beautiful. And it looks so realistic that they can put animals out of work.
Yeah, now they don't do that.
It looks fantastic. And I know the whole time we're watching it and you're saying these animals aren't real, you have to keep telling yourself they're not real because they look real. And as you mentioned, even with the speaking in the mouths, it didn't look like it was fake. I mean, it really looked like the animals could speak. So it was a fantastic job, Disney, on this one. Right.
But yeah, it is. I mean, yeah, you're right. Because it's really well. I mean, really, the only thing sometimes you hear is that when you watch the animated one, it's hand drawn and they got all these really big expressions and stuff. You can pause the frame back and it's got some funny looking things. For here, I don't think they wanted you to focus on how they look. I mean, it's live action, and like I said, it looked real, and the mouths moved great sync. But the one thing you kind of see is that there's a lack of emotion visually. I mean, I get they're supposed to be live, but there's no emotion in their face. And you have to rely on the voice.
And I think, again, if you're trying to portray these digital characters as live, when you see live animals, except for like when they roar or they are showing maybe anger or fierceness or something of that nature, or you're not going to have emotion. So I would say for me
well, for what is it, like a pass because it's live action?
Say it accurately depicted what a live animal would be like, because except for in certain instances, you're not going to have a whole lot of emotion showing on that face.
Yeah. So, yeah, that
and
makes sense.
you know, you've seen documentaries and nature stories and so forth with real animals, and think about the times you've seen lions. And if you think, and Isaiah, correct me if I'm wrong, the most emotion that I've seen when I remember them is when they are acting as a predator or attacking or acting in a manner where they want someone to know that they are dominant and not fearful. Those are the times I remember seeing a lot of emotion. But like when you see them playing with their cubs and so forth, you don't see that emotion. You see them doing the action, but you don't see any expressions. The cubs, however, when they're small, you may see them open their mouths when they're playing, and you know that they're playing with each other and rolling around the joy, but there's not a lot of emotion that shows on that animal face. That's the way I remember it when I think about it. I could be wrong.
Yeah, and they also chose to be more realistic in how the animals act, as you were just saying. Like, for here, the hyenas were comic relief, and Scar led them. And here, they were their own pack. They had maybe 2 hyenas be the comic relief, like in the original, but the female hyena, I think Shenzi, led them, I guess just like in the original, but they made it more apparent where she wasn't the joke. They had 2 joke hyenas, and then the hyenas were treated, I guess, properly as the real-life animal. They're not jokes. They were predators.
And what did Isaiah tell us about that when we were talking on Twitter?
That Shenzi was always the group leader, I think. In the original, it just didn't really show because you always had them as the trio. Like, she was the only one that really had any brains anyway.
And also the naturalness of the pack. How did he describe that?
Like I said, I think it's supposed to be realistic. I'm not sure what the term is. And what was it again?
Well, what I was thinking was when we talk with him on Twitter, when you have questions about animal behavior or nature, dinosaurs, or anything that pertains to those things, Isaiah really has an expertise on it. He made us more aware of the natural behavior of hyenas and how they are in their habitat, how they are in their pack, and he's really great at answering those type of questions. And even when you don't ask, he gives you little tidbits of information that always make us happy and go, oh, I didn't know that, or oh, that's fantastic. And he shares a lot of information also. So
it's our Animal Planet fact for the day.
Yes. So if you're not following Isaiah on Twitter, you should. It's under Isaiah Garza, correct?
Yes.
Yes. Follow him on Twitter. He has a lot of wonderful posts. He makes a lot of tweets about different zoos around the country and so forth. So this being one of his favorite movies is no surprise.
Right. And like I said, for people who watch the original film or haven't seen the original film, I think you will enjoy something out of it. And yes, it's visually different from the anime. It's supposed to be live action, but it's technically animated. It really is animated without saying anime, because there's no way they can make this live action and they didn't use real animals. So it's technically like just another animated version, but you can still find some enjoyment out of it and seeing that they did not mess with the story.
I think that the way this was produced, and this is the way that I viewed it when I watched it, it was meant to be a thing of beauty and to have as you said, a retelling of the original story in a different medium. And I think they were successful in doing that. Again, it was absolutely beautiful. The voice cast was fantastic. As you said, the telling didn't veer very much at all. And they put all these different elements together and they made something fantastic. I think a lot of times when we're comfortable with one thing, sometimes when there's a change or something different, we're fearful that it may not pay homage or be respectful of the original. I think this version was very respectful of the original. I think you've got the animated version to love, for just the love of the original being done. It was like nothing else that had been done at that time for the voice actors who were in it. ones that are still here, ones that have passed on. But now you got something new that they've made that shows, again, the improvement in technology and composition and so many other things in this version. I think it should be appreciated for what it is. It was a great movie. I thoroughly enjoyed it. I was so happy that I sat down to watch it. I would happily watch it again. It's absolutely beautiful. But Isaiah, what did you think about The Lion King remake?
Yeah.
Let us know what you think in the comments below.
Oh, and be sure to like, subscribe, and click the notification bell to get updates on future podcasts and more Paws videos.
And all of you who've seen it as well, let us know what you think. Did you love it? Did you hate it? Let us know what you honestly think, and we'll be happy to read and possibly share your comments.
Yes.
Now, before we say goodbye, have a wonderful, fantastic birthday, Isaiah. We wish you many blessings and love and happiness, and just have a fantastic day.
Yes.
And we'll see you on Twitter.
Yes. So thank you so much for watching. I'm Rascal Entertainment.
And I'm Mom Entertainment.
Have a fantastic day.
Peace.